So you want to overthrow a government. Maybe you're really unhappy with the way the current administration's been handling things and think you can do better. Or, chances are you're just a preteen who's played way too much Hearts of Iron 4 and thinks they know how to be a dictator. Either way, with my 3 steps and advice, you're on your way to cementing yourself as a famous or infamous leader. So let's begin. Before we go over the 3 major steps though, I need you to look deep down inside yourself. I need to ask yourself, do you have what it takes to be a real dictator? Chances are, if you have a basic set of morals, the answer should be no, because you'll have to unalive a lot of people if you want to take and retain power. And you can't just exile them, because chances are, they'll come back to bite you in the ass. So, if you can't bring yourself to this reality, you're better off just not being a dictator, because there are some people who will do whatever it takes to take and retain power. And I mean whatever it takes. Typically, there's someone already in power in whatever country you're trying to overthrow. This is called the incumbent, and they're doing a pretty good job considering they have the position that you want. They might not be a great person, but they know how to run a government clearly, and your job is to take them out of power. You need to remember though, the incumbent's not put in this position of power solely because people like him. Most of the time people don't, but rather, a group of people who are very influential and very powerful put him in this position, and that's where you need to strike for your power. You need to take over the cronies that he pays, aka the coalition. The coalition is not to be confused with the leader's friends, but these are people with incredible wealth and influence who, together, can decide who is able to run this country and can serve their interests best. However, the leader is also in charge of who is in this coalition, so it's a balanced power. Now, the coalition doesn't exist for the fun of it, but rather they get very handsome rewards by retaining the leadership and power. This could be in the form of tax breaks, turning a blind eye to corruption, or literal rewards like cars and houses. Having the support of these people is the only way you'll be able to take power in the first place and retain it. So getting them on their side is priority number 1 for you. The problem is with persuading them is that you suck. No one knows who you are, you don't have any power, and you can't make good on your promises of rewards and wealth to them. How can they know that taking a risk with you is going to pay off when they already get a comfortable paycheck from the incumbent? And this lies the problem. Thankfully, the angels grant us an Achilles heel for leaders far and wide. Really just an Achilles heel for anyone, and that happens to be death. Turns out, dead leaders aren't very good at leading, and when they're not good at leading, they can't give out rewards to their inner circle. This is why they will do everything in their power to cover up any hints of illness or sickness they have, because the second the coalition finds out, they're going to be scrambling to look for a replacement. Psst, that's you! This is the same reason we see Putin shirtless on a horse all the time, because he's totally healthy and the goods will keep on flowing, no matter what. Now, when the news of sickness gets out, it's not just the high-level cronies that'll stop supporting, but really the entire military will lose their incentive to fight should their stream of awards stop going to them. Once the army gets wind of an impending demise for a leader, you should have a clear path to power, because suppressing a protest or riot is a lot like cleaning a toilet. You don't really want to do it because it's terrible and gross, but if you get paid enough for it, there's no reason not to. Now, if the rewards stop flowing, say, thanks to a dead leader, they're much willing to take their chance with someone new who will be able to provide them rewards. Psst, that's you! Now, at this point, you might be saying, Liam, I live in a liberal democracy, and unaliving my opponents is really hard to do. And yeah, you have a fair point. Unaliving opponents in a democracy is a surefire way to political oblivion. But there is hope for you. You see, seizing power in a democracy is no real different from seizing power in a dictatorship. You just need to persuade the people who keep the leader in power that you'd be a better replacement and provide them better rewards. Just replace the coalition of 20 or something people with the entire voting body of the country. In short, yeah, you're going to need policies to win over most of the people. Why do you think the US government pays over $20 billion to farmers every year? Because there's 2 million farms in the country and they just so happen to vote. Basically, democracies are just a battle of ideas.
Is this the cringe department?
No, this is the base department.
No, I think it is the cringe department.
Beep boop.
There are other ways that'll help you seize power, like being related to a former leader, but the general gist is to provide them incentives to putting you in power, and typically the best incentive just happens to be money. Also, spoiler alert, if you're trying to take control of a democracy with the sole intent of making it a dictatorship, good luck with that. The older and stronger an institution is, I'm looking at you Americans and Brits, the harder it is to shrink the massive coalition, so yeah, you're kind of held at the whim of the people. Sorry about that. So rule 1 is done, the incumbent is gone, and the coalition is looking at you as their favorite. However, there turns out to be a ton of other people who are also vying for the exact same job you want. So you're going to need to move on to rule 2, which is seize the government. Now, I know it's kind of redundant for me to be saying seize the government in a video about overthrowing the government, but what I mean is to appear to be in control of the government apparatus. Basically, you need to make sure your group takes control of the government before anyone else. Now, you can do this by one of 2 ways. You can win the support of the people, but that's really tedious and annoying. A far more common and successful method happens to be using shooty bang bangs. Imagine this. You're in a room of 100 people and 5 people have shooty bang bangs. Boom, the 5 people are in charge of the room. They could be god-awful leaders. Chances are they probably are. But since they have that authority thanks to these weapons, they're able to take control of the room and appear to be in control, which is exactly what you want to do with the government. Once you get control of the instruments of state, you'll have a much easier time stomping out your opponents and cementing your position. Now that you've seized the apparatus of government, you've crushed your opponents, and you have the coalition leaning to you loyalty-wise, it's time to form your very own loyal coalition. The thing is, the same people who helped you get into power are not going to help you that well once you actually hold the office. You don't need revolutionary comrades once the revolution's already been won. So you can feel free to dispose of them. In fact, I highly recommend you dispose of them, because these people have the means and the capabilities to take over a government. And last time I checked, you're the government. So they can pose a very capable threat to you and your stability. Just remember, the most vulnerable time to be a dictator is in the first 6 months. Over 50% of leaders are ousted in this time frame. So reshuffling your coalition of new people who are cheaper to buy and more loyal to you will help you out in the long run. And there you go, you've done it. If you were able to win over the coalition of the incumbent, seize the government apparatus, and then form your own very loyal coalition, you've done it. You've taken control of a government. However, coming to power and staying in power are two very different things that require very different capabilities. You could be great at coming to power, but leading a country is a much different problem. So tune in next month when I teach you how to actually run a country once you've seized your lovely position of power. Make sure to comment down below what country you want to overthrow. I love catching up with my viewers and seeing what they're going to do with their lives. And remember, I'm rooting for you.